All right, we'll get started. Thanks so much for joining us. We're here with General Manager, Sporting Director Ricardo Moreira. We'll start with some opening remarks from Ricardo and then turn it over to questions.
Thanks, Omar. Can you hear me? Is it good? Yeah. Yep. Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming. I want to start with a statement, obviously, regarding what happened. I want to first acknowledge the history of Oscar Pareja with this club. We shared a beautiful journey together, wins, losses, and as I said, some fights in the staff games. But Oscar is probably the most important head coach in the history of this club with the achievements. Obviously, a very successful playoff appearance and playoff streak with the club, a record in that sense that we currently hold. The head coach that led us to the first trophy in our MLS era. Lots of players developed under him, lots of good results, but most importantly, Oscar is the head coach that put this club in a position of respect in the league, in the world of soccer, in a position to compete for championships, and that doesn't go without our recognition and gratitude for his time here. It's a difficult moment for the club, obviously for the fan base right now. It brings a lot of anxiety, and hopefully I'm here to provide a little bit of clarity and calmness while we transition and navigate into this new waters for the club. Okay, I wanna honor the past with Oscar Pareja. I wanna acknowledge the pain that we're probably going through, but I wanna look ahead and look at the future. Martin Perelman is the interim head coach for the team right now while we go through this transition. We have full confidence in the team, in the roster, and in Martin to lead the club in this moment. And I'm here obviously to take some questions for you. Thank you very much.
All right, I'll turn it over to questions. Just a reminder, please say your name and outlet for your first one. We'll start with Austin and go to Jamie.
Ricardo, Austin David with Orlando City SC.com. Just kind of to start with, what kind of led to this decision ultimately being made, and I guess why now?
That's not something based only on the latest results or the latest stretch of games, and I know there people think about that and think about the end of last year. Obviously, this is a high performance club. We expect results, and we are in a league and in a club that is in a position now that Oscar, his team, myself, and the people of the soccer leadership has put the team at right now. The expectations with Orlando City are different than they were when we first arrived at the club. So I think it was first. It's important to say that it was a mutual agreement between us and Oscar Pareja. Ongoing conversations that were taken and that started in the last few weeks. That simply we were thinking about the future in a different way. We were going into a different direction. Maybe we didn't share the same long-term vision for the club, and then we agreed that this was the right time for us to make a change and to put the team in a position to go back to its winning days and put the team in a position to fight for what the team wants to fight and achieve the goals of the season.
James and Alonso.
Jamie Say, News 6. What does the coaching search look like, and how soon would you like to identify your permanent person?
Yeah, for now, we were giving full support to our interim coach, Martin Perelman, and we're focusing on giving the team the support that the team needs right now to go and get some points for us. We have a very difficult stretch of games ahead of us. So for now, the focus will be to give support for the team and for our team to achieve the results that are probably right there and what's next. And then we're going to assess what needs to be assessed in due time.
Do you anticipate having a permanent head coach in place before this season ends? Do you anticipate Martin leading the way for this season?
We're open and ready for both scenarios. If there's a coaching search, I would assume that depending on how things go, Martin would be considered. But it's something that we're going to assess in due time.
Alonso del Mike.
Hola Ricardo, te voy a preguntar por qué Martín se es elegido, porque él fue parte de Oscar Pareja el año pasado.
Claro.
Y el equipo desde agosto hasta el día de hoy ha ganado 2 veces en 90 minutos y 1 en penales. ¿Por qué se decide por Martín y por qué no de repente buscar a alguien antes de reemplazar al profesor Pareja?
No, gracias Alonso por la pregunta. Bueno, Martín es lo que yo pueda decir, yo lo que podría decir era el asistente institucional del club, ¿no? Martín es un entrenador que yo contraté para el club en 2022, para el OCB. Tuvo ahí por 2 temporadas de mucho éxito, de desarrollo de jugadores, a empezar por Alejandro Granados, que vendimos a Europa, pero Martín también fue el que eligió a Gusky, a Tahir Reed Brown, a Freeman. Entonces, un entrenador que conoce la identidad del club, conoce las raíces del club, los homegrowns, el pathway que queremos tener con el club. En 2024, Oscar también ayudó a elegirlo como asistente de su grupo. Tuvimos mucho éxito en 2024, empezamos muy bien en 2025 y obviamente los resultados, como dijiste, no fueron buenos al final de la temporada, pero Martín es el entrenador de la casa, a quien conozco muy bien. De nuevo, yo lo contraté y tengo confianza de que él, por conocer el equipo, el grupo, por haber participado junto a Oscar y a nosotros de la construcción de este equipo, de este roster en los últimos años, es la persona indicada para hacer las cosas con el dinamismo que el fútbol necesita y que los resultados y que los partidos que vamos a tener enfrente de nosotros necesitan. Tenemos de nuevo una secuencia de partidos muy difíciles como Montreal y después 3 partidos fuera de casa que son muy duros. Entonces, Martín, por ya estar acá, conocer el club y conocer el grupo, para nosotros es la persona indicada para estar presente en este momento de dificultades del club y de retos. Si me permite responder en inglés también, solo un resumen de lo que hablé, just in English, a little bit of the summary of what I said. Why is Martin the chosen one? Martin was hired by the club under my supervision in 2022 to lead OCB. He had 2 successful seasons with OCB. He debuted and selected a lot of young players or homegrowns that we're seeing having success now. Alex Freeman, Tahir Reed Brown, Colin Gusky, Justin Ellis, Alejandro Granados back in the days that is now playing in Belgium. Martin was then appointed an assistant coach under Oscar Pareja and his team in 2024. We had a very good season in 2024, played the Eastern Conference Final. 2025 started really well. I understand the question because things went south in the end of the season. But Martin, again, is the guy that is the person and the head coach and the coach that knows the team, the club, the culture, the players. So in a moment where we need to react fast and assess things with dynamism, Martin is the right guy for us. He's here and he knows everybody and he knows the club.
Mike and Brendan.
Mike with Wesh 2. Ricardo, I wanted to ask you, you look at how the teams kind of performed the first 3 games. Obviously, before Oscar left, he kind of mentioned it was unacceptable. Just wanted to ask, what more does this roster need to improve? Does it fall now on Martin having to do now with the players that he has, or are there still plans to enhance this roster, whether it's signing a third DP, as you mentioned, or just signing somewhere to fill some depth where the team needs some as well?
No, thanks for the question, Mike. First of all, I take responsibility, right? As the leader of the soccer operations of the club, every decision, every result, and everything that happens, I think falls under my supervision and my leadership. So I know that he took full responsibility for the results, but I think it's a shared responsibility. Every time that a coach leaves the club, as he did by a mutual agreement with us, it's obviously a time for us and for me specifically to look in the mirror and to self-evaluate decisions, self-evaluate what was done. Because when you have a coach, there's never a plan to make such a change and to make such a change during the season, right? And when I think about the roster, the head coach obviously is heavily and deeply involved, and his coaching staff and the staff of the team and myself obviously included in the roster construction. We believe that we have a strong roster. We believe that the roster should not definitely be in the bottom of the table. I think there's space for more. We've had 3 under-22s that have a lot of pedigree, that have high ceiling, that come from great clubs and national teams and etc. And we added 3 MLS veterans as well, 2 of which are going to probably play the World Cup with their national team. So we believe that the construction of the roster is good. We're expecting more, and we believe that there's space for us to grow and get results in the upcoming games. Is Martin responsible for that? Again, I think it's a shared responsibility, and I'm the first one to take responsibility.
Brendan.
Brandon Green, Spectrum News 13. So you mentioned about having to look in the mirror. So when you look in the mirror, what do you see for this club, and how does this change your plans for this club now that the leader is gone?
Yeah, so when we look back, we've put this team in a position of respecting the league, and we've put this team in a position to fight and compete for championships, right? So when we are not doing that, and when we are having a different view or philosophy of how the future or what the future looks like, it's time to look in the mirror and to make a change. We never expect to make a change during the course of a season, but we thought that it was the right moment to do so. And just going back to your question, Mike, that I forgot, you asked about reinforcing and the DP spot available. We're still looking for to bring a DP. We're still looking to reinforce the roster. Either this transfer window, so you have a couple of days, or in the summer. But there are ongoing assessments on the roster, and we're looking to make the roster even stronger than what we believe is right now.
We'll go online to Paul Tenorio.
Thanks so much, Ricardo Poltaro from The Athletic. Mentioning the open DB spot, obviously there have been reports, including by The Athletic, that Antoine Griezmann, how much input, if any, would a player like Griezmann have on the decision at the coaching search? And do you think that it's more likely that an addition would happen in the summer window at this point than in the current window? Thank you.
Paul, I'm going to step in real quick and say, just ask us to keep the scope of this press conference to the coaching change. But yeah.
Yeah, Paul, thanks for your question. As Omar said, we would not comment on rumors or speculations in the media, in the press, and the social networks. But this is a decision that came after lots of conversations and assessments between the club and Oscar Pareja. We took a few weeks to decide the course of the things that we want to do to the future. There's no one to blame. There's not a player that was consulted. There was no any other sort of source to go into this direction. Again, it was ongoing conversation between ourselves and Oscar that we thought the best for the club in the future was to part ways right now and assess what needs to be assessed in this time of the season.
Go to Luis Carlos.
You did speak about how the future, your vision for the future of the club and Oscars were different, which kind of led to this moment. What is the future? What is your vision for the future of the club, and how do you see Orlando City kind of growing into its next phase?
Yeah, we wanna fulfill the dreams that we have, right? And we want to. Again, we have put the team in a position to compete for championships, and I think the expectations are going to be that. And it's a blessing and a curse for us, maybe. But we wanna reinforce. We wanna show ambition, and we wanna be ambitious about our expectations, our own expectations, and the same goes to the head coach and to the players that we bring and to the goals of the team. We are in a position now that obviously, again, taking the blame, acknowledging what happened, a lot of anxiety, but we want to reinforce the team, and we want to make the team even stronger and put the team in a position to compete for championships. And that's my vision. That's the philosophy that we want to have, and maybe we want to play a different brand of soccer moving forward to help us again achieve those goals.
We'll stay online with Luis Carlos Pineda.
Hi, Ricardo. Good afternoon. I wanted to ask you, Luis Carlos Pineda back in Perelman. I'm so sorry. You mentioned, obviously, this is a right time for the next phase of growth. Beyond the results, what specifically was the club lacking in the previous culture that you hope the next appointment will fix?
Thanks, Luis. I won't say there was something specific. Again, ongoing conversations about the future of the club, obviously new leadership and obviously new ideas and new goals for the club. I couldn't look back and say that there was something different. Again, about the past, there's only words of honor and respect and recognition for what happened in the past. But I want the club to move forward, and moving forward, I think I've said before, we want to show more ambition. We want to maybe play in a different style, but obviously we wanna fulfill the goals and the dreams that we all have for this club.
Go to Alonso and Jamie.
Ricardo, un poquito sobre el entrenador. Los DPs han respondido con goles y los líderes con asistencia como Angulo, pero el 9 no. Y es algo que Martín de repente te ha pedido de traernos, no un DP, pero de repente traer un jugador que porque hace el depth chart solamente con un delantero y el otro delantero ha participado más en el OCB que en el primer equipo, que es Justin Ellis. Si has conversado con Martín y si es una de sus peticiones, traer otro 9 para el equipo.
No, es un buen punto, Alonso, porque creemos también que hablando del plantel, la espina del plantel o la estructura del plantel, pensando en los años anteriores, se mantuvo para este año, ¿no? Si pensamos en jugadores como Brecalo, Robin Jansson, Atuesta, Duncan Maguire y los DPs que han respondido, ¿no? Como Pasalic y Ojeda que mencionaste. Duncan Maguire, el 9, ha respondido en años anteriores, quizás no está en su mejor momento ahora, pero el 9 también necesita de confianza, ¿no? El 9 necesita de secuencia y confianza y no podemos olvidarnos de que Duncan viene de dos lesiones difíciles y momentos que él tuvo que superar, lesiones y momentos que no son naturales para un jugador joven y un jugador, de nuevo, un 9 que es una posición que más que todas las otras necesita de confianza y secuencia. Tenemos otros 9, ¿verdad? En OCB como Justin Ellis en Homegrown, como Pedro León, que vino de Brasil también y ha empezado muy bien en OCB. Pero yo creo que la manera de Martín jugar quizás en el principio Martín puede responder mejor, pero quizás va a ser un poco más pragmático por la falta de tiempo. Pero Martín es un entrenador que, como él mismo dice, mira más el juego de la parte ofensiva primero para después de la defensiva, mientras otros entrenadores ven el equipo primero de la parte defensiva para después de la ofensiva. Entonces quizás a medio o largo plazo, si las cosas salen bien, vamos a ver un poco el resultado mejores de los 9 o de quien esté jugando en esta posición o de la manera que el equipo esté jugando. No sé si te respondí. Y si ha pedido un 9, no tuvimos tiempo ainda aún de hablar de eso. De nuevo, el plantel es ongoing, it's a living body. Vamos a intentar reforzar el plantel, sí. Lo que te puedo decir es que Martín hizo parte del recruitment de jugadores como hizo Oscar en su momento. Just to answer the question in English and translate here, Alonso asked about the number 9. If Martin has requested a DP number 9 because our current number 9s are not scoring goals, and I said that obviously Duncan Maguire coming from a period of 2 injuries, and obviously every number 9, every striker, on top of every other position, every other player, they need confidence, they need sequences, they need game time, they need consistency, and I think that Martin in this next stretch of games will have the opportunity to do so. Thiago can also play as a striker. We have Justin Ellis, we have Pedro Leão that in OCB started to do really well. But I believe that Martin Perelman as the interim head coach will be a little bit more pragmatic in the beginning, but Martin is a head coach that sees the game from an offensive phase first and a defensive one, while other coaches see the game in the defensive phase first and an offensive. So I believe that with his system, in due time, the strikers or the offensive players will have more opportunity to score and will have better chances to do so. But also remembering that our DPs have responded well to those situations, have scored. So I think I responded to your question with that.
Go to Jamie, then Shane.
Have you been able to get a read on the players' reaction? Sometimes transitions can be difficult, coupled with the start to the season. Just how have they reacted, and is there a benefit that it does happen early, so you have 31 more MLS matches to get it right?
That's for sure. The season has just started. We haven't played even 10% of the season yet. This is not last season. We're still competing for 3 trophies. If you want to be pragmatic or quote about it, we're 1 point off the play-in position, right? Obviously, that doesn't hide the fact that we lost the three first games, and we're not in a good position to make any jokes or be cold about it, right? We need to win games and we need to react. The players took obviously as every other player, they've been in the club for a good stretch of time. The players together with Oscar and his coaching staff. So it was a difficult moment for everybody yesterday. Again, we honor Oscar, we honor the past, we acknowledge the pain, we acknowledge the difficulty or the difficult day that we had yesterday. But now we're looking at the future. They're players, they know that they have to react, and we have a game on Saturday. So there's no time for us to mourn a lot about what happened. We have to look ahead and look at the future. And just for instance, we have one of the Brazilian players. He had 4 coaches last year in his team in Brazil. So players and people in the soccer world are used to this kind of things. What we are not used to is to have a coach for 7 years with the success that Oscar Pareja had. So moving forward, hopefully we can have a new head coach for another period of 7 years.
We'll go to Shane, then Mike.
Shane Whitehead, WFTV. You didn't mention style of play in your opening remarks, but you have a couple of times in your answers to these questions. Style of play would certainly fall under new direction for the team. Is it safe to summarize that style of play, yours versus Oscar's, had a big role in this decision?
No, of course, and maybe sometimes we saw the game in different ways and different philosophies, but again, not in a contentious way. I think it's natural that leadership has some different views on the team, on the game, on player assessment, on everything. And I think it's natural, and I think it's positive and healthy for any organization or any club or any leadership group, right? What I mean by that is, in my position, I want to support the head coach to put the team in the best position possible to play a good fashion of soccer. Every time this fashion of soccer gives us a better opportunity to win trophies and to win games. That's all I want to say with it.
Mike.
Ricardo, 2 questions in one. What would you
Find a successful season this year for the group? And when we talk about pressure, because it was something that Oscar spoke about before he left and earlier this preseason, the pressure that he was tasked with turning things around, considering how the results were last season. Do you feel there is now some added pressure on you you made this change, now it's up to you to make sure whatever change was made, it's executed correctly?
Yeah, no, again, it was a mutual decision, right, the change, and it was an assessment that took a few weeks for us to go into this direction. I think the responsibility will ultimately always fall on me or the head coach or the leadership that we have in our soccer operations, and obviously I'm the one to answer for that. If it's bigger or not, the responsibility now is just honestly something that I don't assess now. I don't put my efforts or my thoughts on it now. I put my efforts and my thoughts on helping the team to be in the best position possible to succeed. We have a really good culture in our training facilities. We have a really good culture within the team, within the locker room, and we want to keep this alive, and we want to improve this even more to again put us in a position to win. What is a successful season for us? There are a lot of small wins throughout the season, throughout soccer operations, throughout the academy, throughout OCB, player signings, player transfers, everything that is part of the ecosystem of a club. But I'm not going to deny the fact that we want to compete for trophies and for championships. But obviously, if you talk about MLS Cup, only one club wins the trophy, right? It doesn't mean that the other 29 clubs were not successful during this season. I think a successful season for us is to put the team year after year in a better position to win. Maybe last year we were not in the best position to win the trophy, different than maybe 2024 and 2023, right? So when I look ahead, that's my job, that's my responsibility, that's a head coach responsibility, that's a player's responsibility as well.
We'll go back to Luis.
Hi, Ricardo. I wanted to ask you in regards to the U22s that were signed. A lot of them are from South America, especially the Brasileirao, with a high pedigree. Is the new coach maybe going to have that specific background or something that thinks the best out of those U22s, the permanent coach? When it comes to time, what kind of profile are you looking for specifically for a coach the next era of Orlando City? Thank you, sir.
No, thanks, Luis. I knew that this question was coming. I'm Brazilian, of course. The current interim head coach is Argentine. Don't forget that. His assistant is also from Argentina, and our head coach is from Argentina. So, but it's not. It's I would say that it's just a coincidence. The current under 22 players, the 3 of them, are from Brazil. And it's natural that when you're recruiting, when you're looking for players, and you're trying to reinforce a group of players in soccer and football, you're gonna look to countries like Brazil, like Argentina, and other countries that are good sources of talented players, and Brazil obviously is one of the top ones in the world. And not to forget that in the past we had other different nationalities, players coming from different countries, different backgrounds, and we have, I believe, 14, 15, or 16 different nationalities within the core of the soccer operations, players included. And again, if it was the NBA, I would be looking to the United States as a source of players first. But that's soccer, that's football, and we look a lot in South America, we look a lot in Europe, but we look a lot in MLS as well. And let's not forget that different than other years in the recent stretch of in the recent transfer windows, we've been doing more and more trades within the league, bringing more domestic players, something that probably we're not doing enough in the last couple of years. And by that, I can mention Atuesta, Brian Ojeda, Maxim Crepeau, Spicer, Griffin Dorsey, and others. So I think it's a mix. There's no specific target. I just think it's natural that we look in countries that are good sources of talent.
Awesome, then Nathaniel.
Ricardo, just touching on Martin, you kind of mentioned at the beginning of the press conference his past with OCB, growing a lot of the players that are currently on the first team roster. With his experience and with this kind of youth that has come up within the system that is now within the first team, and the U22 players that you mentioned, his experience working with young players, how much of a boon is that in this moment right now of having kind of a safety net of somebody that they're familiar with and that has worked with younger players?
No, that's a good question, because again, the core of the groups is still here, right? Obviously, we let go or transfer players that were very successful in the club in the last couple of seasons. But in soccer, everything's a cycle, right? The head coach is a cycle, the GM is a cycle, the players we are all part of cycles that have a start and an end. And now we'll have to look ahead. And obviously, when we look ahead and you bring some young players up, but when we also bring different players, experienced ones, veteran ones, they're growing pains in everything and everywhere, right? Again, I'm not afraid of taking calculated risk. I'm not afraid of playing young players or bringing young players. And I'm sure that Martin is not as well, because he's got experience and he's been known by that in OCB and by his coaching philosophy, right? The only thing that I'm afraid of is being stuck as a GM, as a soccer club. My responsibility is to put this team in a position to try to win, to try to achieve things that we have never achieved, right? So by doing the same things that we were doing before, I believe that we could, yes, put a team in the position to win, but we didn't do. I haven't done. Oscar haven't done, or nobody here have done, right? So again, I'm afraid of being stuck, of not trying to do the best that I can, or supporting the head coach and the players the best that I can, or the best that this environment or this club or this city need for us to bring a trophy or to compete for trophies for this team.
Daniel?
Nathaniel Rivas with News 6. I know you said over the last couple of weeks you guys started this conversation with Oscar. Was it just that this current season? Was it in last year's off season? Was it at the end of last season? When did these conversations with Oscar begin?
Yeah, no, those are ongoing conversations, right? After every game, after every stretch of games, after every transfer window, we always sit down and evaluate the roster, the training, the environment, the culture, the staff, what we need to do, again, to put the team in the best position to win and compete and be protagonists in such a difficult league with its own characteristics, right? So obviously, I was appointed GM as well in the middle of last season, but we've been working together for the last 6 years, me and Oscar, and we know each other. We have great respect for each other. We know our goals, our philosophies, and etc. So those were ongoing conversations about the future of the club, not what happened in the past, and not any specific result or stretch of games. Though that have a weight and have are those results and the stretch of games that we had last year part of the conversation? For sure. What weight do we put on that? That's different, right? But we're here to win. We're here to win every game. We're here. Every Saturday is an opportunity for us to start again. And we have another opportunity in front of us. We have a beautiful opportunity in front of us. We have such a difficult stretch of games that we're going to have now, including Montreal. But again, ongoing conversations. It took us a few weeks. Conversations took place since last season, off season, during the preseason. I would like to remark as well that Oscar lived in really good terms. He addressed things with the way he is, right? Very human, very natural, very professional. very caring about the club, about the players, about himself, about myself. And I think we did the things in the best way possible mutually, and we did this with the proper time, and that he deserved it, that we deserve it, because again, it wasn't a relationship that started a couple of days or a couple of months ago. So it's not a decision that we both come together easily or in a couple of days. So we was part of a bigger assessment, but again, looking at the future and what we both expect from this team and the club.
Last one, Alonso.
Ricardo, un poco que mencionabas que Martín se preocupa más en la ofensiva que la defensiva. Eso significa que vamos a ver un Orlando City con presión alta, con más dinámica, porque más o menos eso es la interpretación que tengo, si puedes un poco reflejar.
Sí, mira, eso es lo que vimos en el OCB de Martín y esa es la filosofía de Martín, ¿no? Eso no significa, creo, que vamos a tener eso en los primeros momentos del equipo, ¿no? Yo creo que, como dije antes, yo creo que el momento, Martín te puede responder mejor eso, estoy hablando más de un concepto de él como entrenador y de cosas que quizás yo esperaría para el club, para el futuro, pero yo creo que el momento pide pragmatismo y puntos. ¿No? Y hay que lidiar con la realidad que está enfrente a nosotros también, ¿no? No podemos hablar acá de corazón, de filosofías y de cosas bonitas que vamos a hacer. Tenemos que también saber de la responsabilidad que tenemos, de la presión que tenemos desde el momento que vivimos, ¿no? Martín sí es un entrenador que mira el fútbol por un espectro con una visión más ofensiva que defensiva. O sea, es un experto de la parte ofensiva del equipo. De entre otras razones, una de las razones por cual hicimos 63 goles el año pasado y Pasalic y Ojeda tuvieron el año que tuvieron, incluso Muriel que hizo 10 goles el año pasado. Pero yo creo que el momento va a pedir cosas diferentes. Yo creo que una filosofía sí necesita más tiempo para estar ahí. Si es lo que busco, si es lo que quiero, yo te puedo decir que mi perro se llama Pep Guardiola y ahí te voy a decir más o menos la filosofía que tengo de fútbol. I said that he asked if I'm expecting the team to play a high press and offensive, entertaining type of football. I said again that the moment now ask for a little bit of pragmatism, because we know the responsibility, the pressure that we are under. We need points and we need to react to that. We're not talking about philosophy, dreams, and things that we want to achieve and the way we want to play now. Now is the moment to assess what needs to be assessed. And I told Alonso that I can explain my football passion or philosophy by saying that the name of my dog is Pep Guardiola. So with that, you can understand how I feel about football, about soccer.
We'll close on that. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ricardo.
Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.